All right, Doombots, we are moving to B. B is Baron Zemo because apparently Baron is an important part of his name. And as I went through all of the Zemo data to get you information about Zemo, I found out a couple things. One, there's like 572 people who've gone under the name Baron Zemo. 571 of them have first names that start with H. Helmet, Hamron, Harb, with just weird words. The standard Zemo that we experience both as MCU fans and just Marvel fans in general is Helmet Zemo, so we're going to stick with him as the one we're going to talk about. He's not the first Zemo, his father was, but for the sake of the conversation, he's been the Baron Zemo for the majority of the comic series, so we're going to make sure we go into him specifically. As far as what he's about, where he's from, Baron Zemo first was introduced in the Captain America comics. I believe it was in the 70s, 73. We'll put the link in the description, where he was just another member of Hydra. However, Zemo, unlike the Red Skull, didn't believe that anyone with superpowers should be allowed. His form of Nazism was a little bit different than Red Skull. So he just wanted people to be human and peak humanity. That was his line, which is interesting because he took a serum. We're going to assume it's just another super soldier serum model for its name, something X, Compound X or something like that. And it extended his livelihood. Very similar to how Von Strucker, and as far as Hydra's concerned, Von Strucker used actual technology in order to become stronger, and Red Skull was more or less the mysticism. Very interesting if you really want to look at it, how the three main heads of Hydra, Baron Von Strucker, Baron Zemo, and Red Skull, kind of mirrored the three main Avengers throughout history, the Thor being the mystical one, Captain America and Zemo both being physically gifted, even though Cap had a super soldier serum, and the last was more close to Iron Man in the technology of Von Strucker. So just interesting little change they've did, even though there are Hydra's predominantly a Captain America bad guy, to see that little bit of a, hey, we can do this, but bad kind of a setup. Anyway, back to Zemo. Zemo doesn't have any powers. He has artificial longevity through a serum, but he is peak physical form. Great hand-to-hand combat, very similar to like your Black Widow style, like phenomenal hand-to-hand combat, great weapons training, keen intellect, genius level, IQ, absolutely phenomenal as far as what it takes to be a normal person who's also a bad guy. And as far as background, that's pretty much everything you can get into for Zemo in the comics. And again, I'm going to put a link in the description below of something called the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolt series was more or less Zemo's creation of the Masters of Evil, but pretending to be good guys. So I'll make sure the comments have the links below. Going into the game, Marvel Strike Force, Baron Zemos Impact. Zemo is one of the better characters in the game. He might even be one of the top percentage. You pick a number, 20, 26, 14. I don't know. I'm not going to really go into detail on that. But Zemo, from the second you get him as you're playing the game into endgame, you're never going to have no use for him. He's so useful across the game. Let's take a quick look at why. The first reason why is global skill controller. Villains are at a premium in this game. Some of the best characters in this game are villains, usually, but there's so few good ones, especially with different tags, that it's hard to kind of fulfill certain slots with bad guys. Does that matter? Not particularly, but it's something you pay attention to, especially as of the time of this video, it's been almost a year since a villain has been added to the game. The last villain added to the game was, as of the time of this video, I believe it was Yellow Jacket. So, almost a year. We could use a couple more bad guys. Anyway, Global Tag is great. Allow you to use him as a viable, although not amazing option for Dark Dimension, a great option for any raid that would require global or skill characters. Controller is actually the only downside to him, considering most controllers in the game are very, very, very good. It's hard to imagine a situation where you're gonna want to pick Zemo and feel comfortable, like, oh, I'll have plenty of controller ISOs for him, or whatever else you might need. But there's really no right or wrong answer as far as you know, whether or not you can utilize him in anything. He is one of the better characters in the game. From the second you unlock him, you're going to have great value. And a lot of the reason why is this passive. On spawn, gain charged, apply immunity for 1 turn, and defense up for 2 turns to self and all Hydra allies. You can ignore any time it says Hydra allies. None of them are good enough to justify wasting them on him. If you just work on him, you'll be fine. And then this right here is what kind of makes Zemo insane. On turn, if charged, which he is at the beginning of the game, attack all non-minion enemies for 300% of his damage and minions for 400%. Then clear 3 positive effects. Apply Disrupted to all minions for 2 turns. Lose charge. Minions killed by this attack cannot be revived. Massive speed boost. And then on war offense, he gets evades. None of that matters. This right here is kind of what makes Zemo amazing. The ability to ignore things like on-spawn taunts from characters like Drax and Red Guardian. The ability to just remove characters that spawn with stealth. Anything like that. The fact that Zemo's speed is so high and can just absolutely crush any buffs that characters have at the beginning of the game. Huge, right? This is one of the reasons why he's so good in Dark Dimension. He doesn't do any damage, but he removes the taunts. He removes the death proofs. He has so much skill in terms of what you have control at the beginning of a fight that just this ability on its own makes Zemo amazing. The rest of Zemo's abilities, this is a great immediate turn 1 ready go ability block. You could just take somebody completely out. Upgrading it will make him do a little bit more damage. No big deal. Dominating blow. This is just clear death proof and nuke a minion. It's not unreasonable damage across the board. It hits anybody for a lot. But if it's a minion, they're absolutely obliterated. And more importantly, the death proof gets cleared first. So he does not like minions. You can see by now. And then, of course, targeted assault. Apply assist to an ally that you won't have. And then do none of it matters. Zemo's skill set comes from the fact that his passive, or this part of his passive, is so insane that everything else he does is just good, and that's good enough. As for things like ISOs with Zemo, you don't have to go out of your way. I like Raider because most of his attacks have a chance to crit because of the passive and everything, and those have a chance to put the vulnerables on. You can absolutely give him vulnerable or fortifier if you think he dies too quickly. Unnecessary, but possible. Healer, totally unnecessary. He doesn't have much health to begin with, even at 120k. And Striker is also reasonable. You are hitting very hard, so getting a little bit extra damage is okay. But I just think Raider is among the best abilities you can. And that's pretty much it for Zemo. Giving him a character rating, the way I've been rating other characters, he is a S-tier character. That doesn't mean he's as good as a character like Kestrel. No, of course not. That's not how it goes. But remember, this game is not an individual character game. It's a team game, and there's very few teams that wouldn't benefit from having access to Zemo. Very few rosters that wouldn't benefit. As a matter of fact, Zemo's one of the few characters where if you don't unlock and invest in him, you're going to have a way harder time doing certain amounts of content, like anything that requires villain nodes with Hydra, anything that requires global nodes with skill. He's just so good across the board. He's like Minerva. Maybe not the best in the game anymore. Maybe not the most important, but it doesn't matter because you get so much value. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I love Zemo. Hopefully you guys do too. Have a good night. Have a great day. Comment below. Let me know whether or not you're still finding Zemo to be as useful as he was, or whether you just think it's time to put the old man down and have one of his sons take over. Be safe, everybody. Peace.